And what I mean by that is the faction board that we talked about, based on them scoring, the values of these boxes, which isn't indicated, will get greater and greater and greater and greater, and these different factions will score based on how people were actually playing tokens from those factions. Okay, so again, starting with the first player. First player is going to take a token from one of his tokens, and he's going to play it on a location. When he's the first person to enter a location, he sits on the number 3. And that's all that happens in that particular turn. The next player will then take a token, place it somewhere, and so on and so forth. And they're going to keep playing, and they're going to play their tokens, and they're going to try to collect. I apologize about the camera. They're going to play tokens to try and gain points in those particular areas based on the number in which they put it on. There's going to get to a point where all of these are going to fill up, and then people don't have to play like that, but generally that's how it's going to happen. The next token that's played by a player is going to, if it's played at a location, it's going to play it on the number 2 slot instead. Okay. Once that happens and there's multiple tokens that exist within that particular location, you have to look at the rules of which particular factions hates who. So in this particular case, if we're looking at this player just played a lightning bolt, and there's already a star faction that exists already there. Lightning bolts hate stars, so therefore the star goes away and gets removed from the board. Okay. At that time, you're going to take one of the X tokens and you're going to place it there to indicate that nobody can no longer go there. And we're going to keep playing and following those same rules. Does hashtag directly next to the star? No, so they can coexist. And so on and so forth. And for the purposes of filling this up, rather than wasting your time, we're just going to randomly put everything everywhere, ignoring those rules I was just talking about, just a fast track here. And by the end of the game, you're going to have some of them that have been removed from the board and some of them that haven't, and so on and so forth, okay? Let's just assume that they're all there on the board, okay? At the end of the turn is when the phase will end. Once everyone has played their tokens, and you're going to score in the first phase. In the first phase, how you score is you look at the first location, location A, and you look to see which tokens still exist in that particular location. In this particular case, the spade player still has a token from faction star there. And he would score 3 points. Okay. If anybody else is there, you would score them, and whoever's on 0 doesn't score anything. I'll talk a little bit about that later as to why that is the case. You're going to do that for every location. So you're going to start with A, and then in clockwise order, you're going to score here, you're going to score there, you're going to score here, score there, blah, 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 blah. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take the highest scoring token from each of these locations, and you are going to remove them from the board. So in these cases, because I didn't really do diligence with what I needed to do to be able to remove stuff and whatever, I'm taking off all the 3s. But for intensive purposes, if the 2 is the highest still there, like for instance here, it's the 2 that would be removed. If it's the 1 that's the highest, it would be the 1. If it's the 0 that's the highest, it's actually the 0 that gets removed if it's the only one left over, okay? All of these belong to different factions. You got Lightning Bolt faction, hashtag, blah, 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 blah. Based on the ones that were actually removed, you are going to score them up on this track. All right, so say 4 of them came off, 2 of them came on, 4, 5, whatever, okay? This is going to stay like this until the end of the game. You're going to take all of these tokens that which you've removed from the game, you're going to put them in the bag. In this case, I got a box. There should be 16 of them, as there should be 16 locations. will be 16 because you can't remove someone who took up a 0 slot. So there's going to be 16 dudes from each of the locations. Okay? And these are going to be put in the bag. Put that for now. Scoreboard, factions, blah, talked about it. Okay, phase 2. So in phase 2, you're going to remove all the tokens and return them to the different people, except for the ones that are in the bag. So whatever that was played on the board, you're going to return them to the different players. Oops, sorry. Scratch that. You're only going to return the tokens to the players that were eliminated from the board. So for instance, the dude that got removed from this board would return to the player at the end of the phase and he would have it in his pool. Only the eliminated players, so the ones that were removed from locations, are returned to the players. Okay? The remainder of those tokens that were on the board get removed from the board and don't get to play again for the rest of the game. In phase 2, basically you are going to draw a random token from the box belonging to player Diamond, and the result of drawing player Diamond from the box is that one of the money cards, I won't talk about what this is yet, but it'll be revealed, and only Diamond can play on that card. Okay? Again, just talking mechanically, that's just how it works. So we know that Diamond is the only one that can play on that card. The Diamond token that was drawn actually gets put back in the bag. And we'll put that there for now. Next, excuse me. Okay, so there's a ranking system here. There's a bunch of tokens here which represent the different locations. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, blah, blah, blah. You're going to randomly shuffle them up and put them on this ranking board in a random order. I'm putting them upside down, but I'm not sure you guys can see these anyway, so it doesn't really matter. All right, blah, blah, blah. No time to flip this over. Okay, so they're all in some kind of random sequential order. Starting from 12 being the highest, bleh, and 1 being the lowest. Okay? Now, what you do is you draw 4 different tokens from the bag. All right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4 tokens no longer matter who they belonged to. What matters now is from which faction that they belong. Okay? So in this particular series, I had drawn a hashtag, a smiley face, and 2 stars. Okay? So what I do is I flip over a smiley face, I flip over a hashtag, I flip over a star, and I flip over a star. These now get removed from the game. All right. So these are 4 different cards that exist, along with the money card, which is just a supplementary card that exists on the board and only the Diamond player can play on. Starting with the player that at this point in time has the highest score along the track because of the end of phase 1, that particular player will go first. Whatever tokens that they have left over from the previous round that came back to their pool from the eliminated tokens that they had, they're going to take one of those tokens and they're going to place them on one of these. The cards essentially have the symbol of the faction that they represent, 2 locations at the top, 2 locations at the bottom, all right? Based on that player's secret objective, in this case E and F, they're going to play their token on something that would be advantageous to E and F to go up. In this particular case, there really isn't anything that's there that's advantageous. However, they have to play. So they'll play on something. I would go up on the ranking scoring. J would go up on the ranking scoring. And in this particular case, D would go down and A would go down. Now, this wasn't really helpful to that particular player because of the circumstances. However, Those are going to change in a moment. So he would play a token. Sure. He would play a token based on his. His is C and D. Oh, C and D. So he's going to play on C and I. C's going to go up. I's going to go up. G's going to go down. K's going to go down. He's going to play a token. He's going to play a token. Okay? Once all four of them have played a token, if they have any, that's important to remember because they might not have gotten any of their guys eliminated in the last round. Once all four of them have played, you take the 4 cards that are there, and you are going to remove them outright from the game. I forgot to mention, on the turn that Diamond had gone, Diamond could have either played on any of those 4, or they could have played on the money card, which could have helped them in this case, or not helped them, who knows. All right? But it gives that player more options for having been selected at that particular phase. End of the turn, we will remove these 4 cards. Based on the tokens that they played, that the players actually decided to play on the board, those rankings go up. A smiley face goes up, and a lightning bolt goes up. All right? So it's important that they decide, that they choose wisely as far as which tokens that they're playing on the board, because it's actually affecting the ranking of the different factions that have been used during this game. Okay? These are going to be removed. These are going to be flipped over. We're going to draw 4 more of these tokens. Blah, 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 blah. We're going to flip accordingly. This person's going to play. That person, that person, that person. Remove the cards. Random rank. Flip. Take 4 more. You should be doing this 4 times because there's 16. There's 4 different cards that could come up. So therefore, there's going to be 4 rounds of this essentially. At the end of that round, you're then going to look at the ranking system and find out how that particular location did as far as the points that it finished with. Or sorry, both of them based on your secret objective. You're also going to know by the end of the game. So in the third phase is basically now it's the big reveal. Everyone shows, ooh, he was the smiley faces. Ah, he was this, he was this, he was that. You already had a score. You're going to look at this to find out how the players actually scored moving forward. So for instance, if I look at this guy who had E and F, and I look at the rankings of E and F, E scored 2 and F scored 12. This person made 14 extra points because of how this ended up. And finally, because this guy's smiley face, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this guy gets a bonus 5 points because this has been played throughout the game by different people and the value of them have gone up during the game. Okay? So at the end of the game, you tally up the final score and the winner wins, ties. I haven't decided how that works. That's it. Okay, thanks. Bye.